What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jared. It has been a while. I figured I'd take advantage of this beautiful evening to kind of talk about the title of this video. So as most of you are aware, past few years we've been working on this Bayliner. Got it up, polished up. It's been a great family boat for the last few years. No complaints. But as things go with all boat owners, eventually kind of start looking bigger. So I fed this bad boy after midnight, and this came home the other day. Oops. Alright, so let's get into the details of her. Hopefully the noise isn't too bad in the background, so let's get into it. So, it is a Campion, not Champion, Campion 825 LX Alante. 825 basically translates to the length of the hull, 8.25 meters. And if you're hearing meters, you're probably thinking, is it made in Europe? It is not. It's actually manufactured in British Columbia. Never actually heard of this boat brand before I came across this one, but they are actually pretty well built. It is a 2006 model. So you may be thinking, what about this as a project? Doesn't look that bad. Just needs a good polishing, which I agree, does need a good polishing, but we'll get into the details here. Starting with the powertrain. It does have a Bravo 3 drive, which appears to be in pretty good shape. Obviously we need to delve into that. Let's climb up the ladder here. Apparently this person knew somebody named Mary. So, up into the cockpit. It's very bare. I will say I cheated here and started working on this before I decided to start filming anything. So I did rip out all of the upholstery with the exception of the helm seat. It's the only one I don't have out yet. But all the exterior upholstery is going to need redone. Fortunately, it is probably in good enough shape that I can use it for patterns, but it's all going to need done. Down below my feet here, I'll lift up the cardboard. Not sure why I even have that down because it's dirty in here already. Let's lift up the floor hatch. And this is where most of the project lives. So we have a Mercruiser 8.1 liter or 496 mag fuel injected engine. I have no idea if it runs. So let's backtrack here. Alright, so let's explain the situation. So I came across this boat on Boat Trader. I had been scouring Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, just entertaining the idea of looking for a boat similar to this. And I didn't spend a lot of time on Boat Trader because that typically was more geared towards boats that are in good condition, not any project boats. I was specifically looking for a project because I can't afford this new. So anyway, came across this on Boat Trader and I emailed the owner and he responded back and got to talking to him, and come to find out he was actually a yacht broker down in Virginia. This was not actually his personal boat. So I went down to look at the boat and it was basically as is, where is, no sea trial, nothing. So I went down there kind of nervous, not really sure what to expect. Didn't even have pictures online. There was just a stock picture of this boat when it was new, so really going in totally blind. And I get down there and honestly, I was kind of pleasantly surprised. Now the boat was an absolute disaster. There was trash everywhere. The inside of the fridge contained a new strain of COVID that hasn't even been released yet. So I was trying to be optimistic and see past the gross, and ended up kind of talking to the guy for a little bit and coming to the conclusion that the current owner kind of let this thing fall into the state that it was in and didn't have the time and energy and really funds to get it back into shape, so he just wanted to get rid of it. So I came back and decided to make an offer that I felt was reasonable based on the fact that I'm basically buying a trailer with a big question mark on it. I have no idea if the motor works, if the drive works. It has a generator, I don't know if that works. questions. I mean, there's so many questions that I'm rolling the dice on here. So my offer reflected that. I wasn't going to hold my breath. I assumed it was going to be an immediate no. And to my surprise, there was one or two back and forths on price, but he ended up agreeing to it. So I went down a week later and picked it up. So now with that out of the way, what I'm about to explain to you might make more sense. Alright, so back down into the hatch. So again, we have our MerCruiser engine. Based on what we just talked about, I'm not even going to try and start this thing. I'm just going to plan on pulling it out off the bat for multiple reasons. One, I just want to give everything a good once over, which might be hard to get to some of the things in here. Versus just taking it out, it'll be much easier. So this also has something that I learned about, which is called a cool fuel module, which some engineer at MerCruiser thought it'd be a good idea to paint the inside of a fuel system. So that's a known issue that I'm going to have to deal with, and it is way down in there, so that's another thing that will be much easier to deal with when this engine's out of the boat. In addition to that, there is a black water tank back there that is going to need replumbed because the previous owner flushed his duty right overboard. Pretty sure that's illegal. There's also a hot water heater back here, which I want to evaluate, check the status on that. There is a Kohler generator over here, a 5 kilowatt generator, which I also have no idea what the condition is. And overall, just the bilge in general is kind of an absolute disgusting mess. There's stuff laying everywhere, tools, pumps, cut hoses. It's a whole disaster. So this is going to be stage one, because if I get the motor out and find that it is basically useless, that may determine the future of this project. In addition to that, the Bravo drive on the back, if that is not usable or salvageable, that also will determine how this project goes moving forward, because this motor and that drive together is north of $20,000 to replace. Alright, back up on deck. So up here we have more of the cockpit cushions that have been removed. We have a small sink up here and two cup holders that have been removed. Down here are these pieces missing. Were two vents, or a large return vent and two supply vents. Apparently the previous owner had a full enclosure for the cabin and actually had this air conditioned. That seemed a little ridiculous to me, to basically be air conditioning the outside, so I've pulled that out of here since we've gotten it home, and I'm gonna see if it works and see if I can maybe sell it and get some money out of it to put towards some of the repairs here. I just didn't see any need to have that. In addition, there was a fridge here, which I think I mentioned before contained a new strain of COVID. That is currently slightly cleaned. I'm going to say slightly cleaned because it may not be salvageable. So that's this area. The helm has your kind of usual stuff: radio, glove box with more gross stuff, all your switches, gauges, trim tab controls. I've never seen this before. They call this a competition style shifter for MerCruiser, so you have separate levers for throttle and shift. Then in the middle we have these steps that go up onto the bow. Got a couple of hatches up on top, and there's some snaps there. I believe there was a cushion that could snap on up there, but I do not have that. So I come down here to the doorway, or the companionway, which I for some reason can't open one-handed. There we go. Now this is one of the good parts of the boat, in that everything in here was actually in pretty good shape. So we come down the steps. Again, I have all the cushions removed right now because we're just giving everything a really good cleaning. There is a table that goes in here. So obviously that table can be removed and this converted into a V-berth. What you can see of the galley here, we have a electric/alcohol stove, a sink with a cutting board and now a screwdriver in it. Here is your electrical controls, your breaker panel, a remote start for your generator, and a switch for your shore power and generator power. Some cabinet storage up here, a microwave, and we have another fridge down here, which still pretty gross. The funny thing is, this is not nearly as disgusting as the other one. So, don't know if that works yet, so that's another project. But all in all, The interior of this is in really good shape. I did pop down the headliners again just to kind of clean everything, give it a good cleaning. So yeah, everything in here looks good. Off to the right, we have the door to the wet head, which obviously has your toilet and your sink, and you can take the handle for the sink, put it up there, and this can be a shower, which drains down to the floor and into a shower sump, which is under the floor under this hatch. Have this panel removed as well. Again, just kind of giving everything a good once over and cleaning, so to excuse a lot of this being taken apart, but hey, this is a project. And finally, we have the mid cabin under here, which this is one of the things I liked a lot about this boat. When you're looking at 28/29, even 30-foot cabin cruisers, the mid cabin on them can still feel really cramped, but this one has way more headroom than I've ever seen in a mid cabin boat this size, from all of the stuff I was looking at during my search. And the length of this bunk is pretty much a full 6.5 feet, so I mean there's plenty of room for full-size adults to lay down there. Again, you'll have to excuse everything laying around. Got some legs for tables. I had the headliner down here from yesterday because I needed access up into there to get to the underside of some of the upholstered panels to remove. Got a little hanging storage locker in here. So yeah, that is the interior. All right, so I think that's gonna do it for the quick tour of the boat. I think that gives you guys an idea of what I'm dealing with here. So at this point, I just kind of want to go over what my thought process and plan of attack is going to be. So I kind of touched on this before, but I really want to start before I dive. It's so tempting for me. I have like OCD or something with stuff like this. I just want to dive into so many things and just get going and just start cleaning and doing this and doing that. But before I get into this too much and spending money on other things, I really want to focus on getting the motor out and the drive off and evaluating the status of those. Because again, if both of those, God forbid, or even one of those needs a complete replacement, that's such a huge investment to buy a new one of either of those, that I might start to rethink this project, because I have so little invested versus how much I could get by parting this out. As much as I don't want to do that, that's probably a realistic possibility. But fingers crossed, the motor's good, the drive's good. If that's the case, then I'm ready to go full steam ahead on this. So my plan is to start there, and then this is going to be a long-term project. I'm planning to kind of cut away at this at chunks. So get the motor squared away, get the drive squared away, so I can have it basically water ready for next year to be able to physically drop it off the trailer and go drive it around and kind of evaluate how the motor and drive are behaving. Beyond that, I think the upholstery is going to be the next thing I want to do, just because what good is a boat without seats? It's kind of weird. And then from there on, I mean, it's kind of just more creature comfort type stuff, things that are broken that I want to fix, like this fridge out here. I mean, I don't need that right away, right? We have one inside, and even if that one doesn't work, we take a cooler. I can deal with that kind of stuff. And to be honest with you, that's the kind of stuff that adds up really fast. I started looking into this. Marine fridges start at like $1,000. So that's the plan. I hope you guys find this project idea interesting, and I hope you guys follow along. It's going to be a lot of videos coming out of this. I mean, it's a big project. I feel like the complexity of the project goes up exponentially as boats get bigger. So this is going to be a long-term project. A lot of videos coming out of this. Hope you guys want to see them. If you do, give me a thumbs up on this, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.